So today's Paint Talk is going to be the first of a series of 4, maybe not all in a row, but 4 total, where I'm going to be discussing topics you guys recommended, which is pretty cool. I thought it'd be a fun thing to do. I just threw up a poll on the Instagram 2 days ago now, where I was like, what do you guys want to see discussed? And 4 of you came back with some pretty cool topics, which is actually really cool that 4 people have been watching this and are like, oh, I'd wonder, I'd want to see this discussed. I think that's really cool. I'm planning on doing it again eventually, probably not right away, obviously, because, it was 2 days ago, but maybe, once a month, twice a month kind of thing. I think it'd be cool. So go definitely follow on the Instagram. Of course, my DMs are always open too. So if you have a topic you want to see discussed tomorrow, then maybe you can DM me and be like, you need to get on this right now because it's the most pressing issue. No, I'm joking, but yeah, of course, you don't need to wait for the polls if you have something you want to discuss. But today's topic, enough meandering, enough putzing, enough playing around. Today's topic is a really vague one suggested by Jada_KK_32. Or maybe it was 32_KK. Either way, shout out Jada. You were a little vague on your topic. You just said music. So I don't know if you want me to discuss what music I like or just music as an idea. Neither of which my thoughts on are very interesting, but hey, we're here, so why not? I actually do think music it's really interesting because when it comes to art, it does feel as though some art is kind of falling out of favor, right? I don't think many people would argue that painting, books, I don't know, theater, maybe, I guess you could say, these things are not anywhere near where they once were, right? These are kind of, I don't want to call them dying arts, but definitely far less profitable arts than they once were to both be creating in, and more importantly for why they're on the decline as they are, far less profitable for companies to invest in from a creative basis, right? They're not making as much money, they're not going to spend as much on these people, and now we're where we are. Music, though, is not one of these things. It almost feels like, you get to social media, you get to the modern day, and there's a ton of other causes for this too, but you get to this modern day where a lot of these arts are falling out of favor because people don't have time to invest into them, maybe they don't have the extra money, they're just not as interested in them as they once were, possibly, and you would think that when, painting and literature are on the decline, music would kind of go with them, but it hasn't at all, and I think that's really interesting. I don't know if this is 100% true, but I feel like I saw this a year ago or two, that music is actually the biggest it's ever been. I do believe that Drake himself just became the artist with the most hits ever on the Billboard Top 100, surpassing the Beatles. Shout out to the Beatles. So music is huge. It's bigger than it ever has been. And I can't help but be curious about why? Why did music stick around? And I feel the obvious answer that I want to say is just music's awesome. Of course it stuck around. But it is interesting. What's so special about music that these other mediums don't have? And why are people still so captivated by it? I think you could really make the argument, and I think people have made the argument that music is still as big as it is purely on a basis of ease of consumption. You can consume music while you're scrolling, you can consume music while you're on your way to work, you can consume music when you're on your way to class, or when you're studying, or when you're doing anything. You can't look at Goya's black paintings when you're studying for your test. You know what I mean? There's no way to passively consume that. And I think these arguments are good. I think they're also probably just correct, to be honest. But, there is something, at least from the stance of somebody who is so into art, there is a part of me that can't help but be okay, what is it about music that as a medium is so captivating? I do think there is a case to be made that music really does make the person experiencing it feel in a much more direct way than any other medium. When I think of some of my favorite paintings, they don't, as much as I might describe them as epic or moving, you know, when I hear the intro to one of my favorite songs, it's more like immediately moving, right? Almost in the way that like films are. Like films have the capacity, for me at least, to very immediately get me to be like, I am feeling something right now. Not like an intellectual feeling, like a very direct, like, I on an emotional level just have an emotion being evoked because of this. I feel like, at least for me, when it comes to paintings especially, but sometimes with like novels and stuff too, like you gotta kind of think for a minute to get to that feeling. It's not like you're looking at a painting and you start crying the second you see the painting. You kind of gotta like soak in the painting, where music feels far more immediate. And I think because of that, it might have stuck around so much. You know, what's so cool about music too to me is just the way it's evolved, like particularly, not so much recently, but like if you look at the history of music from early 60s, like Beatles, to like the end, like of rock and roll, where rock and roll, I mean like, you know, rock and roll never dies, but like it died in the 90s. No, not actually. I think there were a ton of great rock bands up till today. One of my favorite bands is Cage the Elephant. My all-time favorite band is Weezer. They, in my opinion, and I'm not joking when I say this, I do believe Weezer to be the modern-day Beatles. I think that all indie pop music and alternative music that is dominating TikTok right now is a derivative of Weezer and owes everything to them. People are gonna think I'm joking. This is 100%, I'm 100% serious. I think Rivers Cuomo is a genius. I think Blue Album, Pinkerton is my favorite album of all time. I think Blue Album and Pinkerton are two of the best albums ever made. And then I think everything after that, whether it's an amazing album or just an okay album, is still utterly beautiful. And artists have come since and gone, how do I take the good ideas here and make them mine? And I think you can hear it in literally everybody making music right now. Argue with a wall. I will not be accepting any comments about this. You know, if you guys want to hate on me, that's fine. If I catch anybody commenting about Weezer, I will delete it and block you from this channel. I do not play around with Weezer. They are my favorite band, and they're the greatest to ever do it. With that being said, everyone knows rock died in the 90s. No, but there is something to be said that like commercial dominance for rock music definitely started to teeter off, as I think I would say probably hip-hop came in and replaced it, right? But looking at just like the evolution of a genre like rock or like hip-hop, like it's so cool seeing how these things evolve. Like it's just so interesting. I think like Playboi Carti is always one of my favorite examples of this. He's another one of my favorite artists, where like he is making music that just feels like it's the future. Like the way that I think like it's so funny, right? Because when it comes to an artist like him, people will oftentimes be like, oh, this is dumb music. Like one of my favorite types of guys is like the guy that listens to only the most unknown band ever and goes, this is real intellectual music. Not understanding like there's just as much intellectual value in the most popular things as in the niche things. Like there is not a hierarchy of who is getting intellectual value infused into music. There is so much in everything, if you are willing to look for it. And I genuinely do think there's a lot in Playboi Carti, especially in his early stuff. I think you can hear sort of this awesome way in which he like, in my opinion, as a white kid sitting in New York who has no authority on rap music whatsoever, I feel like it's such amazing, like almost minimalist rap music. Like the way that he is not really occupying the whole song. Like if you look at a song like Mad City by Kendrick Lamar, right? Every single second of that song is occupied by Kendrick's voice. Amazing song, great song. But I do think it takes maybe not quite as much skill. I don't know what goes into making these songs, so I can't speak to that. But it takes a degree of vision and mastery for sure to be able to come to a beat either more complicated or less complicated or just as complicated, any beat, right? And use far more pulled back techniques to make something just as appealing to listen to and just as like emotionally moving, and that gets you Like, there are some Playboi Carti songs that I think have a total of 5 words that get me just as hyped up as Mad City by Kendrick Lamar. And I think that's so cool. And that's why I think, like, I feel like painting and literature, I'll be honest, I'm not tapped in at all to the modern literature scene. Like, in terms of, like, what people are considering to be, like, the amazing stuff coming out right now. As I am, like, with some painting and a lot of music, I do feel like painting, though, the art world in general, like, in a lot of ways, when I go to some of these opening exhibitions, right, just around New York City, I see stuff and I'm like, this is awesome, this is really cool. But, like, it's rare that I see something where it's like, I feel like this person is, like, they found the next thing, right? And I feel like a lot of the arts feel like that. Partially, this is because, you know, the next thing might be over in Cleveland, Ohio right now. I might not be seeing the next thing here in New York. New York City is known as a center for the arts, but it's kind of not anymore, right? I think, like, it is, but I don't know, this idea that, like, New York City is where the next movement always has to happen is, I think it's been proven wrong a lot. I don't know. I don't know for sure. I don't really know enough about the art world to say for sure, but that's just how it feels for sure. But the fact of the matter is, like, it's just not as broadcast when somebody comes up with the next great style of painting. I couldn't tell you what the style of painting that's the most popular is right now, because that's one of those things that does feel quite regional, actually. Yesterday we were talking about how that's kind of gone. And it does feel quite regional that, like, I see artists at the same openings here in the city and things like that. Not them personally, I don't know. I don't have motion like that where I know these guys. If anybody's watching, friends, maybe, if you'd want to grab coffee sometime. But outside of that, like, I just see the same names popping up when I go places, right? Music, though, is so cool because of the way that it still is everywhere, all the time. I feel like from genre to genre, I feel like I'm still looking at these artists going like, wow, they just came with that next big thing. Charlie XCX is, I think I've talked about her before on this show, I'm sure I have. She's one of my favorite examples of this. Where, like, I think it's really cool how the second she came onto the scene, she had I Love It and Boom Clap. 2 amazing songs to this day. Fun fact, Boom Clap, first song I ever downloaded and bought in my life on the iTunes store back in the day. Amazing song, right? I Love It, I was just listening to it today. It's a great song, right? And I think it's so cool how the second she came in, she was able to make a pop hit. Like, it's almost like she was like, I can do that right away. And then it's so cool how just for the next, what's the distance between, like, Boom Clap and I personally do, okay, so I think Pop 2 is when she really starts, like Pop 2 is the first album by her where I'm like, oh my god, I see the future in this album. But, like, I think personally how I'm feeling now is the best distillation. Like, when I hear that album, or when I heard it for the first time, I was like, how is this not being played in every street in America right now? Like, this is the future. Like, it felt like, this is so niche, but there's this scene in Batman Beyond that I remember watching when I was a kid, where, like, in Batman Beyond, it's this cartoon, it's Batman in the future, right? And, like, they're dancing in the street in this one scene, and it's like this beat bop boot music playing. And I remember, like, being, like, as a kid watching that, you know, kind of knowing, like, oh, rock music and, like, what would have been popular at that time. I feel like, you know, growing up being just, like, a white kid, all I knew was, like, the Beatles, right? So I was like, oh, man, like, this is, like, I wonder what the future is going to sound like. Like, I wonder what the future of music sound like. And when I heard How I'm Feeling Now for the first time, I was like, okay, so this is it. Like, this is how the future of music sounds like. And what I think is so cool is I almost do feel like, and I know people have a lot of thoughts on Brat by now because it's so, I don't know, I think it got memed a lot on the internet, and I think that made some people get really tired of it. But I do feel like, for me, that was kind of like almost like a, wow, this came around. Like, I'm not gonna lie, guys, I was kind of just like, I was right. Like, this is the future, and, like, people just need to catch up to her because she is that kind of artist. And that's what's so impressive to me. Her and Playboy Cardi, I think, are like developing the future in front of our own eyes right now. And it's awesome and really cool. I also think that like the aesthetics of a lot of these artists have been so great. I feel like there was a huge lull, namely like pre-COVID. Like I feel like pre-COVID I was looking at like the stuff I was into, and like it felt like there was good stuff happening, but it really feels like recently just like every artist has not just been coming out with good music, but like amazing visuals, even down to like the covers are just so cool. Like it feels like everyone's on their A game right now, and music is just awesome. And I wonder why it makes us feel so much. Yesterday I briefly touched on this idea that I always struggle with, right? That like not all artistic mediums are made equal. And I don't know the answer of like which one's actually the best, because I think that's kind of an impossible thing to say, right? Each one has their own drawbacks and all that. I think I'm fairly comfortable saying though, music is the medium that makes you feel the most immediately. It's the one that like the second you hear it, you will be feeling something based on that music. And that's why I don't know, because it has so many limitations from a storytelling perspective. I feel like the novel and I just feel like the novel and the movie are so great telling stories compared to music, for sure. It's definitely limited in that regard in comparison to other mediums, but I don't know, I wouldn't be mad if somebody said they think music is the best medium out of them all. I really wouldn't. So Jada, I hope this is what you wanted when you said music. If you just want to know what I listen to, Weezer, big Cage the Elephant fan. As far as like, I listen to a lot of like older rock, but I wouldn't say I have a specific artist. I like Styx quite a bit. Pretty big fan of Genesis. Trying to think of like more. This is way harder than I thought it. I listen to music all day, every day. Like I should know like who I like, but I don't for some reason. Been really into Clairo recently. Shout out Clairo. Yeah, huge shout out to Clairo. Biba Doobie, been listening to a little bit of her recently. As far as rap goes, I think rap and pop are probably my bigger genres, at least right now. And rap-wise, I'm a huge Playboy Cardi fan, as I mentioned. Obviously, I'm a white guy, so shout out Tyler, the Creator, and Kendrick Lamar. Like, you guys, you're always serving me as a white man. And huge Baby Keem fan. Baby Keem defined my life for like 2 years. Huge Baby Keem fan. Oh, Red Veil is probably one of my other favorite. Red Veil and Vince Staples had really amazing albums recently. Red Veil's a little older. He had Learn to Swim. That was amazing. Vince Staples had Dark Times. Both those fantastic albums. My favorite Kendrick album is not Mother I Sober, is Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. That's my hot take for the day. Probably the only music in recent time with no Weezer influence on it. I could make the case that Brett has Weezer influence, and I will if there's enough people telling me not to. So, you know. And then pop-wise, that new Billie Eilish album was crazy. I never really listened to her before that, but that new album was insane. Of course, everyone's listening to Chapel Roan, but I feel like that's just like a given right now. You guys know I'm a huge Charlie XCX Glazer. Clairo, like I said, is Clairo pop or is that like alternative? I don't know. I think Blonde is the best album ever made. And yeah, that's all I got. You know what's gonna happen right after this? I'm gonna stop recording on these cameras, right? I'm going to walk into the other room and put on headphones to come in here and take the photo of this painting and, to post on the Instagram, right? And then, right after that, as I'm listening to the music and as I'm looking at my phone to one, take the photo, but two, put on the music, I'm gonna be like, oh my God, I forgot to mention all of these. So yeah, that's just wanted to give you a little window into that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, I like Kanye too, but I feel like he's ruining his own discography for me. This is a little take of mine that I feel like is a whole other thing. But like, I don't know, like for a while, like it was almost like I could just forget that Kanye existed, right? And just like listen to The College Dropout and be like, oh, this is awesome. I wonder what this guy's up to these days. But now with this most recent tirade, it's like, even when I listen to that, I'm like, man, I know this guy is just like on Twitter right now saying things that, like, it's the saddest thing in the world to say those things on Twitter, but it's even sadder to say those things and nobody cares anymore. Like, imagine that. Anyways, this is the painting. I don't know why I started going on a Kanye rant at the end of that. But yeah, this is the painting. Yeah, it's the same thing as yesterday, but a circle. I'll be honest, I recorded a paint and talk before this, and it was terrible. And I sounded like an asshole in it. So I hit pause and came back to this, and there was not a lot of paint on the palette because of that. But I made do, and I made this guy, and I just went with what I did yesterday. And yeah, shout out to this guy. He's awesome. So go check him out over on Instagram. And don't forget, either DM me questions or I'll be throwing stuff up on the story to be like, what's up, guys? Give me things to talk about while I paint, because I got to do that half of the show. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Let me know what music you've been listening to down below. Let me know what music you like down below. I should have said that right at the beginning, because so many less people are watching right now to comment. But you real painter and talkers, you guys are the ones I want to hear your music taste. So shout out to all you. Comment down. Lots of shout outs today, guys. I don't know what that's about. But anyways, until next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. This has been Paint and Talk 102. I'm here every morning, painting and talking with you all.